Well, next Tuesday, we're going to see what the global manufacturing index is going to be put out from J.P. Morgan. And this is something to watch very carefully. Now, I got done looking at SirRawdoglet's video, and I'm not going to be critical of him. I disagree with a couple things. I like a lot of what his opinions are, and I think some people may not. He doesn't always have a smooth delivery. I don't always have a smooth delivery, as obviously some people would know. And I think there's a complimentary picture of him, so I'm not being against what he has to say. I think his words of caution about the gold and silver fantasy are accurate, but I do disagree that I think silver and gold are going to go up a great deal, not due to, well, the economy imploding, which is a fallacy. You'll hear that from the silver bugs. You know, an economy implodes, silver has to go up because the fiat currency is going to oblivion. And Raw Dog does make a very good point about if everything went to oblivion. I think the last thing, well, in my opinion also, maybe agrees with this, that the last thing we're going to be worrying about is our coins. It's going to be worrying about survival and food and everything else. So I don't think it's going to that, but I do think silver and gold is going to go up a great deal more because of global demand. In other words, yes, the United States might be slowing down. Europe looks like they're really slowing down, but the world isn't slowing down. So there's going to be more demand for these commodities. And if there is an economic implosion, there's going to be demand for everything. I mean, there's going to be a war. There's going to be competition amongst resources, and there's going to be a war. So if there's a war due to economic implosion, which is pretty much what always happens, nobody likes to think of that, but that's pretty much what always happens, right? Then there'll be big demand for commodities, industrial metals like silver and platinum, palladium, crude oil, and everything else, and people will run to gold because there's uncertain times. So temporarily, yeah, I think we maybe still have some more downturn. It's easy to say because stuff is going down. And yeah, I bought platinum at, I'll honestly state, 1600 electronically. It's down at 1542. I didn't buy it on leverage, and I'm going to wait. And I don't think there's too much more of a correction period left. And I did state I am overly bullish on the metals also, but I'm pretty highly critical of the silver pumper and dumpers. But let me just say a couple things about some of those guys that I really don't think are too bad. I think Mike Maloney's a pretty good one. I know he sells silver. He's in that market to sell his newsletter and stuff. But I think he's giving people a good balance of what's going on. And he's not telling people to hold gold and silver forever. He thinks it's the bull market is not done with. And I don't think the bull market is done with. I'm not sure if this correction period is done with. I don't think it's got too much more to go. But like as I stated, I'm overly bullish on silver. As a matter of fact, for the end of 2011, I expected silver to be up around 40, 42. That's what I was saying, before the fact. And it was down at 28. I didn't think it was going to go all the way to hell up to 75, 100. I was like hoping it would, but I thought it was going to go up to where it was in the summer levels. But it didn't. So I'm overly bullish on these metals. I find it very hard to think that they're going down because of the situation that's going on in the world. But I think it's good to pay attention to what Raw Dog has to say. I know, like, sometimes, sometimes people don't like hearing what he has to say, and I don't agree with everything he has to say, but I think he's giving you a very good opinion as to what's going on, and it's the number of people out there are just out there to sell silver. They're out there to sell their silver propaganda. They're out there to sell their newsletters or whatever they're doing. I don't know, but it's not good advice to go too much into the metals. But I think it is good advice to still hold them. And I'm not trying to say anything bad against Raw Dog because I think he's good to go. Okay, I got a high opinion of this one, actually, believe it or not. Even though he doesn't have a super smooth delivery, and neither do I, but He's selling his gold and silver right now, and I would not do that. I personally would not do that. I know he's up on his investment quite a bit, but I think silver's actually going to go up quite a bit this year. You know, taking it from a guy that's too bullish on the metal, but I still think it's going to go up quite a bit. I am kind of going by some things I think that are going to possibly happen in world events, and I think the demand from China on various commodities has not let up, and they're going to start seeing more and more tensions between East and West, and that's going to push the military-industrial complex into high gear again, and that's really what brings on a demand for commodities. So now if silver goes up to about 60, and physical silver, I'm going to start unloading that stuff, even physical, because I think there'll be a pullback. I shouldn't say that, but I'm not going to unload all of it. I'm not going to unload all of it. I'm going to try to time the market. I shouldn't really state what I'm doing on here, but I don't have a big enough channel. But I would recommend that people look at SirRawdoglet on his channel, because I think he's giving some pretty good advice on some of this stuff. And I wouldn't be selling right now, but whatever. I mean, he's up on the money, so you only should make a good second investment. Now, what's going to tell us what's going to happen probably is what's going to, say, for instance, this index goes up next month, or we're going to find out next week, next Tuesday. This index is up globally, and a large part of it is because of China, even though it's, like, the numbers are conflicting out of China. Sometimes they're saying the growth is down, but then they had stuff where they said their growth is over 8% again. So they're really not falling apart. And if they appreciate their currency, we're going to see a sudden devaluation of the dollar. So what's going to happen with gold and silver relative to the U.S. dollar? It's going to go up dramatically, right? And also something else to look at is this Baltic Dry Index. You look really piss poor here back in the end of January, and it's still not looking great, but it's been rising. So that means global trade is moving along. It's not decreasing, it's increasing again, even though it's low. Now, I want to comment a little bit about the mentality. Well, before I comment a little bit on the mentality of the devils, David Morgan, pay attention to David Morgan. I know he's kind of in the silver crowd, out to sell his silver newsletter and all this garbage and make money on the metal. Yes, I know he sold his silver. I picked up on one of his videos. He said he sold silver. He said he got lucky on April 28th, 2011, you know, Thursday before the thing crashed on the weekend, him and Eric Sprott, right? But I'm not going to comment on that other than just point out there's a fact that that's what I heard him say anyway. He states a lot of times, and I like this, you know, if you're up double on something, get rid of half of it. You take 50% cash, fiat, but you know, still buy stuff, right? And you still got whatever you did, you know, or maybe you can keep it in the silver, but sell half of it, or sell all of it and reinvest part into something else that you think is very solid. You know, metals aren't the only solid real asset out there. It could be agriculture stocks or something. It could even be some of the crude oil stocks that are maybe recommended by the infamous Goldman Sachs, but I think they're correct on that. I think crude oil companies are going to go up quite a bit because of tensions in the Middle East. If you're up double on something, it's probably smart to get rid of it. Now, that's partly why SirRawdoglet is selling off his silver. I think he's selling off too quick, though. Now, I'm probably going to sell off this year if it goes up this high. But I don't know. I mean, I have a crystal ball. You know, it's like, wait, is it going to go up this high, or is it? You know, I don't know. I think it might. I think it might. And you know, I'm trying to keep a balanced opinion on this because I am overly tainted in the bullish camp. So some people think I'm not. I am, and I don't like being that way because I don't like having my mind tainted by thinking that all the fundamentals of silver and all this garbage. I am brainwashed into that garbage a little too much too. But you know, and I know it's true, but there's different market cycles that go on, so I like to be able to judge the market as it goes along. As far as David Morgan sometimes stating like, you know, if you're up doubles, get rid of half. I think that's very valid advice. And also when Mike Maloney states about the ratio of gold to the Dow going to 1-to-1, I don't know, maybe it will or maybe it won't, but say it went 3-to-1. Still got to, that means gold has to go a hell of a lot higher than it is now, right? It would have to go to $4,000 an ounce, right? So I think we got quite a bit more on this bull market, and what's really going to push the demand for commodities is globally, not so much the European Union. Don't pay attention to that garbage. The European Union is one thing, but globally is another thing. And the East is going to leave the West in the dust. And I think that's just part of the New World Order plan. So your protection is in metals. It is in metals. And the elite have a very good way of thinking on different things. And you know, actually my opinion is the real problem is the middle class itself. Because you could tell them stuff and they don't listen. They don't listen. And it's almost like they want to be led around by the nose. I find this out. This is pretty much your average person. They don't want to think. They want to be, what do I do next? That's really the way they are. And, you know, actually even sometimes when the elite drops some hints, you know, the middle class attacks them. And sometimes I even get mad when people attack Ben Bernanke. You know, if we were really shrewd silver investors, we'd be like kissing Ben Bernanke's ass and telling him, please give us quantitative easing. You're a genius. Send him thank you notes and everything else. Because you know what's going to happen. Silver's going to go way the hell up, right? And that's one asset class they're going to jump into more probably than even the other asset classes. Instead of calling him a jerk and a fool and he's wrecking the economy and he's an evil guy. Well, if we're shrewd players and we want to win against the rest of the majority, we'd want to have Ben Bernanke pump up the QE as much as possible and thank him for it. That's the right strategic that's the best strategy for the economy, Ben. Keep doing it. But no, the middle class is going to attack the guy. I also want to comment a little bit on George Soros. I know he talked about gold is the ultimate bubble. And they were saying, oh, he's a gold bug. And I'm like, God. You know, he's dropping some hints. Gold is going to be the ultimate bubble. Gold is going to go way the hell up. It is going to go up to these crazy amounts, like $10,000 an ounce. It is. Not next week. It might only be a few years from now. It is going to go up that high. And I think Raw Dog is making a mistake about selling his metals at this time. Because, I mean, if he sold them this year, say at $60, say, well, let's assume silver goes to $60. But say, you know, you sold them then and it went up to 70 and it crashed, then you could buy them back. I don't think this bull run is over with yet at all. I disagree with that, but he's up pretty far, so. But anyway, we're probably not going to go into this hyperinflation Zimbabwe garbage like people are thinking. But I also want to point out again that sometimes central banks don't have all the tools that they can to control hyperinflation. The reason I state that is because they're trying to work with a lot of different people. They're trying to work with China and everything like that, how the Chinese appreciate their currency and stuff. But there's always this thing called unintended consequences, and that's, you know, one little key phrase I always picked up on, that people, or not people, say banks, or, you know, people in banks, big banks and big companies are hoarding cash. They're uncertain about the future. You know, they will jump on something if they see a great opportunity to make money. They will dump that cash into something, and then a bubble will form. That's kind of like what Mark Faber alludes to. You know, Ben Bernanke's still pumping more money out there, and a bubble will form someplace. It might form in the metals. It might form somewhere else. I kind of think it's going to form in the gold and the silver and the platinum and the palladium and the oil. But that is when that cash starts not being hoarded and just setting into treasury notes and bank accounts, because companies are actually flush. The big companies and big banks are flush with cash. They can invest, and when that starts coming out into the economy, that's when the inflation can start picking up, because it's the velocity of money. It's not just how much money, how many dollars have been issued. It's how fast they're circulating in the system. That's where the Federal Reserve can lose control, and we could have a lot more inflation than they expect to. And what are they going to do then? They really don't have any options, do they? So silver and gold are very smart protection. I would not sell silver and gold at this point, even though I think it might go down just a little lower. I would not be doing that, but do want to recommend just, take a look at he's probably got more views than I got, but SirRawdoglet. I think he actually does give some good opinions on things. Not always a smooth delivery, and neither do I have a smooth delivery at all. But I think there is a lot of exaggerations going on in the gold and silver market, big time. And the middle class eventually is going to get set up. So I also want to point out, I don't necessarily like doing these metals videos as much as some other things. I enjoy doing the health videos or some more practical things, even the automotive videos, because it actually teaches somebody something that's useful. This is more or less a game of strategy against a card game, playing against other people. But I will point out one basic fact with the metals. Since the West is being pushed down and the American currency is being pushed down relative to the Chinese yuan, and the East is being pushed up, even the majority of people getting into real assets would be a smart thing. That will help save your wealth somewhat. It's not a stupid thing to go into the metals, not at all. I'm going to try to time in and out of them, but in general, it's not a stupid thing right now to go into the metals. The bubble is not here yet, not at all. It's got a lot more to go, and we might see a very fast revaluation. It's not supposed to be very fast, but maybe it's going to be like in pieces. Like, in other words, you're not going to see something in one day, but you might see something over 6 months where the dollar devalues quite a bit against the yuan this year. And they're going to break budgets, and when they break budgets, in the defense budget, they're going to break all this type of stuff. They always do. What's going to happen to? They're going to downgrade the U.S. What's going to happen to the gold? Gold's going to go up further. So the silver and gold crowd, even though they're a bunch of pump and dumpers, pretty much, they're basically correct. This bubble is not done with. It's not done with yet. It's got a few more years to go. I'm overly bullish on the metals, but I'm pretty damn sure about this stuff.